Stop it!
Stop it! Stop it!
Stop it!
Stop it!
Stop it!
Stop. Yes.
Stop it! Stop it!
COVID-19. What hasn't been covered regarding COVID-19? Well, if you'd ask me that question, I'd tell you not a whole hell of a lot. Because everything just about regarding COVID-19 has been covered, and yet there are things that people commonly overlook about how it originated and how it's become one of the #1 killers on the planet right now. Not excluding the Clintons, obviously, because they have a body count as long as their mansion is wide. This is perfectly justified. COVID-19, otherwise known as the coronavirus, otherwise known as coronavirus disease 2019, also known as COVID-19, is an ongoing disease that, as of this recording, has lasted almost an entire full year. We're talking 11 months. It is a disease that has infected approximately, according to the World Health Organization, 1/10 of the world's population, or 770 million people. Coronavirus has been detected in nearly 45 million people all over the world, and almost 1.2 million have died from it. That is a mortality rate on average of, I would say, hell, why don't we just go off the record and say 3 to 4%. The coronavirus allegedly, originated in Wuhan, in the province of Hebei in China. Allegedly from bats. It has since spread between October 2019 to now, this time a year later, to nearly 200 territories and countries. Practically the entire world. And as you know, a disease that is not detected fast enough can spread the world over, in case you haven't figured that out already. Said, we're going to take it to Scully Sanderson to explain to us how the coronavirus came to be. Scully, take it away.
COVID-19 spreads when people are physically close, spreading airborne, and the illness becomes rampant, and therefore contaminates those who aren't affected as a result of those who were affected that spread the illness around. Symptoms can include acute respiratory distress, fever, and loss of smell or taste, including difficulty breathing. If that makes any sense to you, just read the Wikipedia page and we'll link it to you in the description.
Now, as I mentioned, the coronavirus has been tested as being active in almost 45 million people, and 1.2 million people have died from it. What they don't tell you about the coronavirus is that although the Chinese were the ones that invented it, like they invented fireworks 1,000 years ago, obviously, the Chinese still will not admit to it, even though it is spread from their country to over 200 others, just about. 198, might as well say. And you know what's funny? I would love to think that the Chinese aren't these bad communist, fascist, Naziist, nicheist, bad people. I would love to think that they're not bad people, but unfortunately, the Chinese have proven time and time and time again that they're not trustworthy. So to hell with them. Right? I mean, that's just the thing, isn't it? That's just the thing. So bears mentioning that the coronavirus, which, by the way, I'm not going to demonetize anything, or I'm not going to monetize anything, whatever you call it. I'm not going to monetize my videos because one mention of the coronavirus, if my videos are monetized, could get them demonetized like that. Because YouTube's algorithm, well, let's just say it sucks. Anyway, the coronavirus has been known to cause the biggest economic recession in almost a century, dating back a little bit before the Great Depression in the late 1920s. And we're talking 1920s here. This is almost 100 years ago. Funny how all the time goes by, right? So you've got the coronavirus causing so many productions on so many shows to shut down, including Price is Right, Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, Let's Make a Deal. You've got shows like Outlander that are being halted because of this disease. And yet at the very same time, a lot of those shows have come back under COVID-19 restrictions, including social distancing, the wearing of face masks, the washing and constant rubbing of hands with soap and water, things like that. And when you really consider it all, it's not that hard to see why someone would want to take precautions like this. Because it's always important to have good hygiene. Isn't that right? I'm going to make a very unpopular opinion. This very unpopular opinion is not going to be relatable to you, the viewer, or many of your friends. But I'm going to say it anyway. Despite 200,000+ people dying of coronavirus in the US and almost 5 to 6 million active cases going on there, believe it or not, President Donald John Trump has done a fantastic job of handling it with the ventilators and face masks, and now with the vaccine that is set to arrive sometime before the end of this year. 2020, I mean. Right? And yet the media wants to shit all over him for it. Bear with me, if you will. By the way, continuing on to this coronavirus origin story. The Chinese were the ones responsible for spreading the virus. And China is the place in which it originated, allegedly from bats. But the very first people to be infected by it in China developed quite a few symptoms, including respiratory illness regarding things like, let me think. No, wait, don't tell me. Let me think. I got it. Loss of smell or taste. And that's just one of them. So if you have a loss of smell or taste, chances are you might or might not have coronavirus. So it's always good to stay socially distant, at least 6 feet. all this other nonsense that the media want to spew at you. But then again, you gotta consider, at the end of the day, it is always important to know what to do in a pandemic. First of all, you can't be going out in public when the disease is active in you. You gotta stay quarantined. I myself have no problem staying quarantined, because I do it a lot. Almost all the time, in fact. Very rarely do I step outside my home unless it's to take out the trash, look for something in a vehicle, take a few dogs out, take a few dogs in, give them fresh water, this, that, and the other. But 90 to 95% of my day, I would say, is spent indoors, if not a little bit less than that. And because I spend so much time indoors, my skin, from my neck down, is pale as a ghost. In case you haven't figured that out yet. Nonetheless, the coronavirus, it's going to do that to some people. Especially to people who don't go outside very much. But people like me that aren't going to be affected that much by the coronavirus, all we have to do is wash our hands and stuff. But most people that do wash their hands, they gotta take other precautions as well, because if they don't, they could get the disease even if they're asymptomatic. Go figure, right? And yet, even though the Chinese will never admit to the coronavirus spreading all over the world on their watch, remember, they let it spread and told no one about it. They wanted to keep it a secret so that we would figure it out for ourselves. That's what they did. They kept it a secret from us so that we'd figure it out when it was too late. But despite all that, China is responsible for the global economic recession that has been going on, that is the worst some kind of recession in almost a century, dating back to the Great Depression. And that, ladies and gentlemen, is your episode of Perfectly Justified. As always, I'm Kevin the Skull Anderson, operating under a new YouTube channel because I forgot my password to my old Gmail and I can't find a way to get a recovery link to it because Google has a very messed up sign-in process. For some reason, it used to be simple for me to get into my Yahoo account and my Gmail account, but I can't get into those because the process is too complicated. But go check out my first YouTube channel. Actually, my second. My first one is a stillborn. Go check out my most active YouTube channel prior to this one. And as always, I will link you to it in the description. Thank you so much and have a great day. Bye for now. This is a Skull Media production.